Okay, students, before moving on to the phases of menstruation, I would like to give you a brief overview over the types of different follicles, right? Uh, okay, so let's see here. Okay, so the first follicle, which is known as the primordial follicle, it is basically the follicle present when a female is basically a fetus, right? So it has a primary oocyte, uh, and it will be surrounded by the spindle cells. So this is known as primordial follicle, which will later develop into primary follicle. Now, primary follicle, there is only one difference with the primordial follicle. It also has primary oocyte, but the primary oocyte is under the process of meiosis, but it is stuck at the diakinesis phase of the prophase 1 of the meiosis, and it is further surrounded by the follicular epithelium. So the follicle cells surround the primary oocyte to make up the primary follicle. Moving on, this primary follicle develops into secondary follicle. In secondary follicle, what happens? There is still primary oocyte which is stuck at diakinesis, but these granulosa cells are found in the uh, surrounding the follicle, surrounding the oocyte. So the multiple layers of granulosa cells surround the primary oocyte to make up the secondary follicle. Now what happens in tertiary follicle? The primary oocyte has completed its what do you say meiosis one to form a secondary oocyte and a uh, polar body, right? So the secondary oocyte, it is there, and it will also be stuck at metaphase of the meiosis 2. But in secondary oocyte, we can see there are multiple cavities. This is known as antral cavities, and they are present in patches, right? And we can see two layers of cells. One is theca interna, and two layers. One is theca interna, and other is theca externa. Theca interna is the layer of granulosa cells, or the theca interna is the layer of granulosa cells surrounding the secondary oocyte, and theca interna is the layer of granulosa cells surrounding the secondary oocyte, whereas the theca externa is the fibrous layer. So it is made up of fiber. So here you can see that there is no, there is no cell here. It is whole fibrous layer. And finally, we have Graafian follicle, in which multiple layers develop. But you need to only keep in mind that it is still having a secondary follicle inside, and this secondary follicle will only develop into ovum as soon as the sperm enters here, and enters into the secondary oocyte. Then it divides and form the ovum as well as the second polar body. Here the first polar body was formed in the tertiary follicle, and the second polar body forms at the time of fertilization, and ovum is also formed. So secondary oocyte is here. The inner layer is zona pellucida followed by zona radiata, and you can see a large antral cavity. You can see this cavity here. Wait, let me show you. This whole cavity. This is the antral cavity. So you can see in Graafian follicle there is a large antral cavity, and most of the cells are located at one side. One you can say one side of the cell of the follicle, and this portion is known as germ hill, and you can see that most of the cells are located at one pole of the follicle. So this was basic knowledge about the different types of follicles.